Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into a really significant Supreme Court of India judgment from July 21st, 2025.
Yes, and this one's not just about legal points. It's a stark look at custodial violence and, well, how the system itself sometimes fails.
It really confronts accountability head-on, especially institutional accountability.
Absolutely. It shows the court drawing a very firm line, demanding responsibility even when it's uncomfortable for the powers that be.
So let's dive in. The case revolves around Khursheed Ahmad Chohan, a police constable.
Right.
In February 2023, he was illegally detained by his own colleagues, essentially, and tortured for 6 days straight.
6 days. It's quite horrifying.
And the details are just brutal. We're talking complete genital mutilation. Reports say the severed parts were actually brought to the hospital in a plastic bag by another officer.
It's incredibly disturbing, and what makes it even worse is the initial institutional reaction.
Yeah, tell us about that, because the High Court didn't help.
Not initially, no. They actually dismissed his request to even file an FIR, the first information report, against the officers involved.
Dismissed it?
Yes. And almost adding insult to injury, they allowed the police to file a counter FIR against him for attempted suicide.
Against the victim? Seriously?
Seriously. The Supreme Court later called this exactly what it was: institutional abuse. A complete failure and, frankly, a cover-up attempt by the system.
Okay, so the Supreme Court steps in. What were the key principles they laid down here to, well, fix this mess?
Well, first and foremost, they went straight to the basics, citing the Lalita Kumari precedent.
Which says?
Which makes registering an FIR mandatory for cognizable offenses serious crimes. Especially, the court stressed, in cases of alleged custodial violence against public servants.
So no ifs, ands, or buts.
Exactly. And crucially, no preliminary inquiry is allowed in these situations. The court was very clear. Allowing one just gives institutions a chance to engage in institutional cover-ups.
Right. It protects the accused rather than investigating the crime.
Precisely. And that directly violates fundamental rights equality under Article 14 and life and liberty under Article 21.
Okay, but here the investigators would have been investigating their own colleagues, right?
Yeah.
A clear conflict.
A very clear conflict of interest, as the court put it. You can't have the accused investigating themselves. It just doesn't work. It undermines the whole process.
So what was the solution?
The investigation had to be transferred. The court ordered it handed over to the CBI, the Central Bureau of Investigation.
The CBI, that's a big step.
It's what they called an extraordinary measure, yes, but absolutely necessary here to ensure impartiality and, importantly, public trust in the investigation. Justice has to be seen to be done.
Makes sense.
And the CBI wasn't just told to investigate the torture, but also to arrest the officers responsible and look into systemic problems at that specific interrogation center.
Wow, okay. Now that counter FIR for attempted suicide, it just seems so malicious. How did the court deal with that?
They quashed it completely, called it fabricated and malicious.
On what grounds?
Well, first, the medical evidence clearly showed the injuries couldn't possibly be self-inflicted. It just didn't add up.
Right.
But second, and this is quite significant, the court pointed to Section 115 of the Mental Health Care Act of 2017.
Okay, what does that do?
It essentially presumes that someone attempting suicide is under severe stress and shouldn't be prosecuted under the old Indian Penal Code, Section 309. So the court used this to say, look, even if you tried to argue it was attempted suicide, prosecuting it is basically off the table now. It's a health issue, not a crime.
That's a really important clarification.
Yeah.
So, justice for Mr. Chohan. What about remedy? Compensation?
Yes. For what the court called an egregious violation of his fundamental right to life and liberty, Article 21, they awarded compensation.
How much?
50 lakhs rupees. That's 5 million rupees. Citing the DK Basu case, they said this was intended as a balm to the victim.
A significant amount.
It is, and crucially, the court added that the state has the right to recover this amount from the guilty officials once they're identified through the investigation and any disciplinary actions.
Ah, so accountability actually hits their pockets too.
Exactly. It ensures the burden doesn't just fall on the public purse. The individuals responsible should ultimately bear the cost.
This whole case, this deep dive, really underscores how vital the judiciary's role is. Standing up against institutional power ensuring basic rights are protected.
It absolutely does. It's a stark reminder that vigilance is constantly needed.
From everyone, really.
Yes, and it leaves you with a pretty fundamental question, doesn't it? How do we make sure that the institutions built to protect us, the police, the justice system, don't end up being the source of harm? And how do we guarantee that justice isn't just an ideal, but a reality for everyone, especially when they're up against the power of the state itself?